The diplomatic station drifted in silence at the edge of known space, a place built more for caution than comfort. From the outside, it looked like a ring of metal and light, calm and orderly. Inside, however, tension had begun to grow the moment the unknown vessel appeared on long-range sensors. No weapons were visible on the ship, no escort followed it. It moved slowly, deliberately, as if it wanted to be seen long before it arrived. The station's crew gathered in control rooms and observation decks, watching the smooth, unfamiliar shape glide closer. First contact protocols activated automatically. Messages were sent in every known language and mathematical pattern. For several minutes, there was no response. Then a signal arrived, clear, structured, and unmistakably intelligent. "I request permission to board," the message said. "I come alone. I come in peace." That alone was strange. Most species arrived with diplomats, guards, and endless conditions. This one asked as if it were a guest, not a representative of a powerful interstellar union. Commander Elias Marr stood near the main observation window, hands folded behind his back. He had seen first contact before, but this felt different. There was something intentional about the timing, the silence, the simplicity of the message. "Scan results?" he asked calmly. "Atmosphere compatible," a technician replied. "Life signs indicate a single being. Female, by our best estimates. Biological structure is complex, but stable." Elias nodded once. "Grant docking permission. Keep security present, but low profile." The airlock sealed with a soft hiss. Moments later, the inner door opened. She stepped through alone. She was tall, but not intimidating. Her form was graceful, her movements controlled and precise. Her skin carried a faint, shimmering pattern, like light seen through water. Her eyes were large and dark, reflecting the station's lights as she looked around, taking everything in without visible fear. She wore no armor, no visible technology, only a simple garment that suggested rank or purpose rather than decoration. "I am Sarai then," she said, her voice smooth and clear, already translated by the station's systems. "Observer of the Karai Union." Elias stepped forward, offering a respectful nod. "I am Commander Elias Marr. Welcome to Human Diplomatic Station Haven." Sarai then studied him closely. Not aggressively, not warmly either. Simply, carefully. "I thank you for receiving me," she said. "I have come to make a request." The room seemed to tighten. Diplomats shifted slightly. Security officers adjusted their stance. "You may speak freely," Elias said. "I wish to spend the night with a human," Sarai then said. Silence fell like a physical weight. Several people looked at each other, uncertain they had heard correctly. The phrase carried implications, even if no hostile intent was detected. Elias did not react immediately. He had learned long ago that reacting too quickly during first contact often caused more damage than silence. "Could you clarify what you mean by spend the night?" he asked evenly. Sarai then inclined her head, as if she had expected the question. "Among my people, a night is a unit of uninterrupted shared time. No tasks, no distractions, no performance. Two beings remain together and observe one another honestly." A xenologist stepped forward, voice cautious. "Is this a cultural bonding ritual?" "Yes," Sarai then replied. "It is how Karai women determine truth." "Truth of what?" Elias asked. "Of character," she answered. "Of intention. Of value." The words sent a ripple of unease through the room. Elias folded his arms loosely. "And why a human?" Sarai then's gaze shifted past him, toward the station windows and the distant stars. "Because humanity stands at a threshold. Your species grows quickly. You form alliances. You disrupt patterns. The union must decide what you are." The implication was clear enough. "And this night decides that?" Elias asked. "Yes," she said simply. Private discussions followed quickly. The visitor was escorted to a secure, comfortable chamber, while diplomats and officers debated behind closed doors. Some argued the risk was unacceptable. Others believed refusing would signal fear or hostility. Throughout it all, Elias listened more than he spoke. When the decision was finally reached, the room turned toward him. "You're the recommended choice," the chief diplomat said. "Psych profile, experience, adaptability." She specifically requested a human, not a title. Elias exhaled slowly. Understood. The station shifted into a simulated night cycle. Lights dimmed. Sounds softened. The chamber, chosen for the meeting, was simple. 2 chairs. A low table. Transparent walls, showing the stars beyond. Sarai then was already waiting when Elias entered. "You accepted," she observed. "I did," Elias said, taking a seat across from her. "I assume there are rules." "There are expectations," she replied. "We will remain here until the cycle ends. We will not deceive. We will not perform roles. We will simply be." "That might be harder than it sounds," Elias said. Her eyes focused on him. "That is why it is effective." Minutes passed in silence. Not awkward, but heavy with awareness. Elias felt the unusual pressure of being observed, not as a representative, but as a person. "Why women?" Elias asked eventually. "Why not your leaders?" "Because Karai women are entrusted with judgment," Sarai then said. "We determine whether a species is dangerous by nature or dangerous by fear." "And which do you think humans are?" Elias asked. "I do not know," she answered honestly. "That is why I am here." Elias leaned back slightly. "Humans are afraid often," he said. "But we don't let fear decide everything." Sarai then considered this. "You allow emotion to guide you." "Sometimes," Elias said. "Sometimes we let it save us." She watched him for a long moment. "Among my people, emotion is controlled because it leads to unpredictability." Elias smiled faintly. "We consider unpredictability a feature." For the first time, Sarai then's expression changed, not much, but enough. Curiosity, perhaps. As time passed, they spoke of small things. Earth's oceans. Human music. The idea of staying awake simply to keep someone else company. Elias spoke of childhood memories, of nights spent staring at the sky, wondering if anyone was out there. Sarai then listened without interruption. "You share inefficiencies freely," she said at last. "Human specialty," Elias replied. "We bond over things that don't help us survive. Except somehow, they do." Outside the chamber, unseen by Elias, Karai observers recorded every word, every pause, every emotional shift. The night was only beginning, and somewhere deep within the vast distance between stars, the fate of humanity had begun to change, not through strength, not through threat, but through something far more dangerous. Honest presence. The simulated night continued, slow and quiet, like a long breath held by the station itself. The stars beyond the transparent wall drifted in silent patterns, distant and cold, while inside the chamber the air felt warm and still. Sarai then remained seated, posture unchanged, but her attention never left Elias. She did not blink as often as humans did. When she did, it seemed deliberate, as if every movement was a choice rather than a habit. "You are less guarded than expected," she said. Elias glanced at her, then back at the stars. "If I spend the whole night pretending, you'll notice." "Yes," she agreed. "Pretense has a rhythm. Truth does not." Silence returned, but it was different now, less tense. Elias realized that the pressure he felt earlier had faded. He was tired, but not uncomfortable. It reminded him of late-night watches during deep space patrols, when talking felt optional and company alone was enough. "You said this night determines truth," Elias said. "What truth are you searching for?" Sarai then's gaze softened slightly, though her voice remained steady. "Whether humans are capable of attachment beyond self-interest." Elias frowned. "That's a strange thing to doubt. For your species, perhaps," she replied. "For many others, it is rare." She explained that the Karai Union had watched humanity for decades. Humans fought, argued, and competed. Yet they also rebuilt, forgave, and protected those who offered nothing in return. The data was confusing. The models did not agree. Most species form bonds to strengthen survival, she said. Humans form bonds even when survival is not improved. Elias smiled faintly. Sometimes, especially then. Sarai then studied his face carefully. Why? He thought about it. About old friends lost in accidents. About family he rarely saw. About people who stayed up all night just to talk someone through fear. Because being alone hurts, he said simply. And because helping someone else feel less alone feels right. Her eyes narrowed slightly. Pain avoidance. Connection. Elias corrected. Pain comes with it. But we accept that. She leaned back for the first time since the night began. Among my people, pain is a signal to withdraw. For us, it's often a signal to stay. The difference seemed to unsettle her. Time passed. The station's artificial night deepened. Elias felt the slow weight of exhaustion pressing behind his eyes. But he did not fight it. He had the sense that this, too, was part of the test. Sarai then noticed. You grow tired. That happens when humans stay awake, Elias said. We're not very efficient. Yet you remain, she said. I said I would. She tilted her head. Promises carry weight for you. They do, Elias said. Sometimes more than logic. Her fingers rested lightly on the arm of her chair. Among the Karai, promises are avoided unless certainty exists. Then how do you trust anyone? Elias asked. We trust systems, she replied. Elias let out a quiet breath. We tried that once. She looked at him. And failed? We learned, he said. Systems don't hold your hand when everything goes wrong. Sarai then was silent for a long time. Outside the chamber, hidden from both of them, observers from the Karai Union continued to watch, their data streams filled with anomalies. Elevated emotional variance. Non-strategic disclosures. No visible attempt to manipulate perception. Inside, Sarai then spoke again. Tell me of a night you remember. Elias hesitated, then nodded. There was a night during my first deep space mission. Power failure. No communications. We thought rescue might not come. What did you do? She asked. Nothing useful, Elias admitted. We sat together. Talked. Joked badly. Shared food we were saving. It didn't fix the problem, but it fixed us enough to keep going. Sarai then processed this. You bonded in the presence of fear. Yes. That behavior would be considered wasteful. Probably, Elias said. But we survived. Her gaze sharpened. Not because of the bonding. Because of it, Elias replied. Fear didn't break us apart. She looked away for the first time. Toward the stars. Among my people. Fear fractures. Elias studied her profile. That must be lonely. The word seemed to catch her attention. Lonely is a human term. It describes an experience, Elias said gently. Not a weakness. She turned back to him. You assign emotional meaning where none is required. Maybe, Elias said. Or maybe you've been told it isn't required. The station hummed softly, the sound almost like breathing. Sarai then's stillness began to shift. Small movements, subtle changes in posture, the perfect control she carried earlier showed fine cracks, not of distress, but of adjustment. Your presence is grounding, she said slowly. This is unexpected. Elias raised an eyebrow. Good or bad unexpected? I have not decided. A low alert sounded faintly through the chamber walls. Elias's posture changed instantly, alert but restrained. He did not stand. Sarai then noticed. You are trained for danger. Yes, he said. But no one has told me to leave. The alert faded. Routine systems check. You did not prioritize your own safety, she said. There was no clear threat, Elias replied. And leaving would have broken the night. She watched him carefully. You value the integrity of this interaction. I do, he said. Because it matters to you. The words hung between them. Sarai then's breathing pattern changed, slower, deeper. This night was meant to be observational. And now? Elias asked. And now, she said, I am participating. That admission carried weight. Among the Karai, observers did not engage. Engagement meant vulnerability. She stood and moved closer to the transparent wall, looking out at the stars. Elias joined her, standing a respectful distance away. Do humans believe they are special? She asked. Elias considered. Some do. Most just try to get through the day. That humility is inconsistent with your achievements. Achievement doesn't stop doubt, Elias said. If anything, it makes it louder. She turned to him. Then why continue reaching outward? Why not remain contained? She can, Elias smiled softly. Because somewhere out there might be someone else wondering if they're alone. Sarai then's eyes reflected the stars now. And if they are dangerous? Then we learn, Elias said. And we choose what kind of people we want to be in response. Far away, Karai analysts paused their projections. The probability curves were bending in directions not accounted for. The night moved on. Elias sat again, fatigue settling deeper. His words slowed, but he did not withdraw. Sarai then mirrored his movements unconsciously, sitting when he did, matching his pace. You are changing your behavior, Elias observed quietly. I am adapting, she said. This interaction is altering my internal balance. Is that allowed? He asked. She considered. It has never been tested. A faint smile touched Elias's face. First times usually aren't. For the first time since her arrival, Sarai then let out a sound that was not speech. Not laughter, but something close. A release of tension. The observers recorded it with alarm. The night was no longer just a test. It was becoming a choice. The artificial night was thinning now, slowly shifting toward the gray light that marked the station's early cycle. Time had passed without either of them truly noticing. What began as observation had become something quieter and heavier, like standing in deep water and realizing it reached farther than expected. Elias felt the ache in his shoulders and the dull pull behind his eyes. He shifted slightly, careful not to break the calm that had settled between them. Sarai then noticed the movement immediately. You are exhausted, she said. I am, Elias replied honestly. Humans aren't built for endless wakefulness. And yet you remain present, she said. Your attention has not withdrawn. Elias shrugged lightly. Being tired doesn't mean being gone. She absorbed that in silence. Outside the chamber, alarms suddenly flared sharp. Urgent, impossible to ignore. Red light pulsed through the corridor beyond the transparent wall. The station's hum changed pitch. Deeper and faster. Elias stood instantly, instinct taking over. That's not routine. Sarai then rose as well, her posture alert but not panicked. External threat? Most likely, Elias said. Stay here. Before she could reply, the station's internal communication activated. Commander Mar, a tense voice said. Unidentified vessels have dropped out of jump near the station. No transponder signals. Defensive systems are online. Elias clenched his jaw. Are they Karai? Negative. Unknown configuration. Sarai then's eyes darkened. They are not Union. Elias looked at her sharply. Do you know them? No, she said. But they are watching this station for a reason. The implication struck hard. Humanity was not the only one being observed tonight. Security teams are moving to protect the diplomatic wing, the voice continued. Protocol recommends evacuating the guest. Elias turned toward Sarai then. We can get you to a secure area. She did not move. If I leave, the night ends. This is bigger than the night, Elias said. Is it? She asked quietly. Another tremor ran through the station as something impacted the outer shield. Not a full strike, more like a test. A probe. Elias made a decision. Cancel the evacuation order for this chamber, he said into the comm. I'll take responsibility. There was a pause. Commander, I said cancel it, Elias repeated. Redirect security to civilian sectors. The channel went silent. Sarai then studied him closely. You chose risk. I chose people, Elias replied. Everyone else on this station doesn't get a vote. I do. I do. I do. I do. That choice may end your life, she said. Possibly, Elias agreed. But leaving you alone to face this would end the night for the wrong reason. Outside, Karai observers reacted in shock. The data stream spiked. A human commander had overridden protocol not to gain advantage, not to impress, but to remain present. This behavior contradicts survival optimization, one observer noted. It confirms emotional priority, another replied. Inside the chamber, Sarai then stepped closer to Elias. Among my people, this would be considered irrational. Among mine, Elias said, it's called not walking away. The unknown vessels made another pass. The station's defenses held, but strain was visible in the vibration through the floor. Sarai then closed her eyes briefly. When she opened them, something fundamental had shifted. I understand now, she said. Understand what? Elias asked. Human love, she replied. It is not attachment. It is alignment. Elias frowned slightly. Explain. You align your actions with the well-being of others, she said. Even when the outcome is uncertain, even when the cost is high. That's one way to put it, Elias said. She looked at him steadily. For Karai women, love has always been defined as preservation of order. What you demonstrate is preservation of meaning. Another impact shook the station, stronger this time. Lights flickered. We may not have much time, Elias said. I will send my report now, Sarai then said. You said it wasn't finished. It is now, she replied. She activated a small, previously unseen device near her wrist. Light shimmered faintly as data streamed outward. Faster than any human system could track. Outside the station, far beyond the unknown vessels, that signal raced toward Karai space. What does the report say? Elias asked. That humans are dangerous, she said calmly. Elias's chest tightened. Dangerous, she continued, because they destabilize stagnation. Because they remind others of what they surrendered. Because they choose connection over certainty. The station shook again, but this time the impact was followed by silence. The unknown vessels hesitated, their formation shifting. Sarai then's eyes focused on the stars. They are withdrawing. Sarai then's eyes froze. Elias exhaled slowly. Why? Because they were waiting, she said. Waiting to see if humans would abandon the test under threat. If you had, they would have acted. Elias stared at her. So this was all connected. Yes, she said. You were never being judged by the Union alone. The red lights dimmed. System stabilized. The station's hum returned to normal. Elias leaned back against the wall, exhaustion finally catching up. That's a lot of pressure for one night. Sarai then regarded him with something close to respect. You carried it without knowing. The artificial dawn brightened, pale light spreading through the chamber. The night was ending. Sarai then turned fully toward Elias. In Karai culture, when a night changes judgment, we mark it. How? Elias asked. By choice, she said. I will return to my people. I will speak not as an observer, but as one who experienced humanity. And what happens then? Elias asked. There will be resistance, she said. But change has already begun. Elias nodded slowly. That's usually how it starts for us too. She stepped back, restoring a bit of formal distance. You did not attempt to influence me. You did not ask for mercy or alliance. Didn't seem right, Elias said. That, she replied, is precisely why it mattered. Outside, docking systems prepared for her departure. The moment felt heavier than any farewell Elias had known, because it was not personal, yet deeply human. Sarai then paused at the chamber exit. Commander Mar. Yes? You stayed, she said. That is how alien women learn what love means. Then she left. Elias remained standing in the soft light of false dawn, aware that something far larger than a diplomatic meeting had just occurred. The night was over. The consequences were only beginning. The station returned to its normal rhythm, but nothing felt normal anymore. Systems reported stable. Crews moved through corridors with trained calm. Yet beneath the routine, a quiet awareness had settled into everyone who knew what had happened that night. Elias Marr stood alone in the observation deck, watching the stars where Sarai then's vessel had vanished. His body finally felt the full weight of exhaustion. Muscles ached. Thoughts moved slowly, but his mind would not rest. He had not slept. He did not regret it. Behind him, soft footsteps approached. The chief diplomat stopped a respectful distance away. "The Karai signal has been confirmed," she said. "It reached their core systems intact." Elias nodded. "And their response?" "None yet," she said, which may be the loudest answer possible. Hours passed. Then days. Across human space, whispers spread through diplomatic channels. Karai fleets were shifting positions, not forward, not retreating, but repositioning. Long-standing patrol patterns changed, observation posts powered down, others activated for the first time in centuries. Elias was called to briefings, questioned endlessly. He told the truth every time. He added nothing dramatic. He did not need to. He spoke of a night, of staying, of listening. Many did not understand. Far away, within the vast crystalline structures of the Karai Union, Sarai then stood before the assembly. Thousands of minds watched her through layered perception fields. She felt their attention like pressure, but she did not withdraw. "You exceeded your mandate," one voice stated. "Yes," Sarai then replied calmly. "You compromised observer neutrality." "Yes." "You experienced emotional contamination." She paused. "No, I experienced clarity." Data projections filled the chamber. Human behavioral models. Recorded dialogue. Physiological responses. The moment Elias chose to stay when danger rose. "You argue for reclassification," another voice said. "I do," Sarai then replied. "Humans are not conquerors. They are catalysts." "That is a risk," the assembly replied. "All meaningful change is," she said. Resistance followed, as she predicted. Logical objections. Statistical fear. But something had shifted. Karai women across the Union accessed the report. They did not analyze it immediately. They felt it. Slowly, quietly, conversations began. Questions, once unasked, surfaced. Why must order require silence? Why must connection be weakness? Why did watching a human stay feel unsettling in a way that could not be ignored? On Earth, Elias finally slept. He dreamed of stars, of quiet rooms, of being tired but choosing not to leave. When he woke, a message waited. The Karai Union formally requested a human envoy delegation. Not for negotiation. Not for alliance. For understanding. The phrase used in the request had no direct translation. Linguists worked for hours before agreeing on the closest meaning. Shared presence. Human ships traveled to Karai space unarmed. Not as a show of trust, but because weapons would have sent the wrong message. Humans brought stories. Music. Silence when needed. Elias was asked to lead the first delegation. He hesitated. "Others are qualified," he said. "They asked for you," the diplomat replied. "Not by name. By description." He went. The Karai homeworld was beautiful in a precise way. Vast structures designed for efficiency. Cities that moved like machines. Everything worked. Everything functioned. But Elias noticed the quiet. Not peace. Absence. Sarai then met him at the arrival platform. She looked the same, yet different. Less rigid. More present. "You returned," she said. "You asked," Elias replied. They walked together through halls that echoed softly. Karai observers watched openly now. No hidden feeds. No secrecy. "You changed many things," Elias said. "You reminded us of something," Sarai then corrected. "That order without connection decays." They entered a chamber prepared for the delegation. No tables, no barriers, just space to sit, to stand, to be. Other Karai women joined them. They did not speak at first. They watched the humans settle in. Share water. Adjust lighting so it was comfortable for everyone. No one rushed. Hours passed. Then words came. Questions, not demands. "Why do humans sing together?" Why do humans stay with the sick when they cannot cure them? Why do humans mourn loudly? The humans answered honestly, sometimes clumsily, sometimes with stories instead of logic. Something spread through the chamber. Not agreement, recognition. The Kara Union did not change overnight. It did not abandon structure or discipline, but cracks appeared in places once thought solid. Observation roles expanded. Emotional variance was no longer automatically suppressed. Shared nights, true nights, were permitted among Karai women for the first time in recorded history. Humanity was officially classified, not as a military power, not as a political threat, but as a bond catalyst species. The classification carried weight across the galaxy. Other civilizations noticed. Some were curious. Some were afraid. Requests followed. Humans were asked to sit with dying starside cultures, to listen to species on the brink of collapse, to stay present during negotiations where words failed. Humans did not always succeed. They did not always fix things, but they stayed. Elias returned to the station months later, older, tired, changed. He stood once again at the observation window. The stars looked the same. He knew better. The chief diplomat joined him. "Do you realize," she said quietly, "what you started?" Elias shook his head. "I just didn't leave." She smiled faintly. "Sometimes that's enough." Far away, Sarai then stood beneath her homeworld sky. She watched two young Karai women sit together in silence. Unobserved, unrecorded, the night stretched on, and for the first time in Karai history, it was not empty. Humanity did not conquer the galaxy. They did something far more dangerous. They stayed awake with it.